which means only one thing, that there is more pressure on the organizations to operate at a faster pace. HR professionals are adjusting their strategies to stay ahead of the curve and respond to the fluctuating hiring needs. We have a very interesting panel discussion that is coming up on data intelligence, the key to unlocking HR strategic potential, and we are very grateful to the session partners, job speaker. On this note, I would like to invite the panel for today's discussion. A big round of applause for Mr. Vivek Bhaskaran, VP Strategy and Transformation, job speaker. Mr. Priyank Vajpayee, Vice President Talent Acquisition. Ms. Reeti Dubey, HR Business Partner, NWT India, Operations NatWest, and the moderator for the panel, myself, Sadaf Rahman. This is going to be a 30 minutes discussion with the panel over here, and we are going to ask them some very critical and relevant questions. Now, just moving ahead with the conversation straight away to all of you, just wanted to understand that what are the avenues and what are the ways a modern HR professional can bring value to the organizations, because this crowd, which is a Gen Z crowd, I mean, you all are the HR leaders of your organization. What are the ways that, you can bring into the value? Just wanted to take your inputs on that. Maybe we can start with Reeti.
All right. I think a lot of ways in which HR can add value. It's the cliched statement that I'm making right now, but it's really true that data and insights are any HR professional's best friend. So by bringing the right data and insights into any conversation that you're having with your business stakeholders, I think you can then have a final seat on the table. So that's number one. And the second, which is most important for me, is by being empathetic and kind towards whatever situations you are dealing with, towards the business needs, the business agenda, and the employees. So those are two critical competencies I think modern HR professionals should definitely have and showcase.
Thanks, Reeti. So yeah, I agree with that. Also, I come from a data and insights background, so I'll definitely talk about it. But more than that, I think the availability of data and that was not the case some 10 years ago. Then you did not have access to data. Now you all of us have access to all the kind of data that is needed, and so making use of that is one area where we see a lot of people getting into, from HR getting into different verticals like strategy, for example. Mergers and acquisition is another big piece where HR plays a big role. So the way the career path of HR professionals have shifted, it's a very interesting thing to see how people are moving through different aspects of the business, and the whole question of HR having a seat at the table, I think it's already solved for right now. Now it's about getting to the next stage of it. So, thanks.
Yeah, sure, I'll use this. Hey guys, thanks for being here. Thanks Reeti, thanks Vivek for your thoughts. For me, how a modern, how an HR defines the modern age, I mean, that's the more important question. How do you engage with Gen Zs? Are you going to go the traditional ways? And I come from a talent acquisition background. So my question is, are we going to go the traditional ways, or are we going to look at the new ways which have evolved over a period of, especially in the last 3 years, because of COVID, because of all the digitalization which has happened? Some of the perks, benefits which you can actually attract people to can be as simple as having a cool cafeteria in your office. I mean, those are the things which are actually being looked up by the new Gen Zs or Gen Z plus or whatever you want to call them. So apart from what Reeti and Vivek just said, I think you should have the right EVP where you can actually promote what you can offer a Gen Z. Can you offer more flexibility? Can you offer more comp off? Can you offer them more trainings? Can you offer some kind of education benefits? Those are the things which needs to get packaged, is what I feel, if you really want to attract, retain your modern age professionals. Yeah.
Great. Reeti, you mentioned something very important about data-driven decisions. And I know that we have a lot of talent acquisition leads, talent acquisition managers who are present in this room. So I would like to know from you, especially like Vivek, What is your take on the importance of data intelligence and talent intelligence when it comes to picking up data from the job boards or getting the competitors' data on as such, what kind of hiring is happening, what kind of benefits my competitor company is providing? So does, JobSpeaker or any other platform help us in giving that sort of an insight to a recruiter as such?
Yes. So there are cases where job posting data or the kind of publicly available data is used for things like designing your internal L&D programs, see where the skill gaps are, especially kind of benchmarking against other players in the industries, etc. So that kind of information was kind of uh, not there at all in the past, and now it's there. Not just JobSpeaker, but there are a few other platforms as well which allows people to do this. And one area where I think there's a lot of potential is marrying your internal data and the external data. And that's an area where not much has been done with, though it sounds very obvious thing to do. I have not seen it in action in a lot of cases. So that's one area where I am very positive about. See how your internal data about your people, skills, L&D, etc., can be benchmarked against the industry itself. So that's probably an area we all should be looking into.
Definitely. You would like to add something, Priyank?
Sure, let me add something. Thanks, Vivek. So when we use the word competitor and data together, I get scared because there are so many data privacy rules these days. But if you look at the data which is available now, let's call them best practices. Let's look at it. For example, an X organization, just a weird example, covers you up for 80% of your medical benefits. I think that's a great thing to adopt for your own organization instead of sealing it on an insurance scheme. There are several things which we can learn from both internal and external. Internal is easy to access because you have hired them. You know what their salary stubs look like, at least in India. You know what their education looks like. You know what their skills look like. External becomes very difficult to map. Of course, there are different players in the market who help you understand the landscape of talent or the landscape of various perks which a competitor or a comparator is offering. And then we also do a lot of exercises with all the big fours where we get to know where we stand when compared to the market. But I think looking at your own data becomes very important. Where are you losing people? Why are you losing people? Where are you getting people from? And why are they joining you? I think that's very easy data set point. It depends how contributed you as an organization is to even look at the output. It's a basic template. Exit template, internal entry template. All you have to do is put a data scientist behind it. He'll give you a lot of data cuts. I think that really helps us to sustain and also determine how your organization would look after maybe 2 or 3 years from today.
Preeti, would you like to share your insights with us on this, please?
I think just adding to what Vivek and Priyank said and answering the second part of your question, how can tools like JobSpeaker maybe make a recruiter's life better? So I think the talent intelligence tools which are available these days can definitely help recruiters, especially hire talent, because it's no longer about just looking at the JD, looking at the CV, and who can do the job or who has the skills. It's also a lot about who is interested in your organization, who aligns to the purpose, who's visited your company's website, what kind of people are you looking for, and who's going to be a better value match. Those are certain insights that some of these tools are able to provide. LinkedIn provides quite a lot of that. So I think that makes a recruiter's job not just easy, maybe, but more enriched, because you are mapping just not CV and resume, job description, but quite a lot.
Absolutely. Fair point. Yeah, please go ahead.
And if I may add, that part of boring work, matching resume to candidates to jobs, etc., that boring admin work is easily automatable. And the talent acquisition folks can do a lot more exciting and enriching work, as Riti mentioned. So that's where I think a lot of potential lies. And,
Yeah.
TS generally seems to be opposed to the idea of having automations there. But that's something which has to change and which will change over.
Definitely. And we have such intelligent tools that can also predict whether the candidate is going to stay in the organization, whether we are going to be happening any kind of, what we say is the early attrition or an infant attrition in the organization. So a lot of algorithms, a lot of predictive model tools are there which are inbuilt that can predict as well. Moving on to the next, segment, when we talk about talent intelligence, a lot is happening in terms of building the engagement strategy, or let's say, for example, the developmental strategy by relying on the data that talent intelligence brings for the organization. So how do you think organizations are gearing up for building a robust engagement strategy for themselves so that they can create a great employee experience?
I can probably start off. I think the tools which are available these days help a lot in engagement and retention. I'll probably take one example or start with one example, and that's more around career progression. So when some of these tools look at data internally of your employees, what skills they have, what likes do they have, what kind of jobs do they want to opt for in future, some of these tools can actually map internally very well through AI and tell what jobs will they be more successful at. They can also provide insights to these employees around what's the career path people like them have taken and what roles have they been successful in. So Workday, as an example, is a tool that we use in our organization, and it provides those insights, AI-based insights, which gives people or allow people to see the career paths that they can pick or career paths people in their teams have taken and become successful. So that's one area where talent intelligence can definitely help. Another area I think is comp and bin strategy, because what your competitors are doing and what's working well for your competitors or what's not working well for your competitor is a key insight. It's a very valuable insight for you to have so that you can retain your talent and create the strategy accordingly to retain your talent. So that's another area where talent intelligence can definitely help in engaging and retaining talent.
Definitely. Priyank, your views on that?
Sure, thank you. Apart from what Reeti just mentioned, I think for attraction, engagement, and exit, I mean, you need to have a strategy for all of this. Today, even from an attraction point of view, we can break it down into several cycles which goes through when you are hiring a person. You look at an attraction point of view where you want to hire someone. Do you really know who your competitors are? At MasterCard, we have thoroughly studied who our competitors are. We exactly know where we want to hire the next person from. We exactly know what kind of level in hierarchy they sit in their organization. So today, if you ask one of my recruiters that we need to hire, say, say a divisional president, we exactly know which are the organization we'll go to, who are more structured the way we are, who are delivering the kind of work we are doing. And it doesn't happen overnight. There are templates which you need to really make to start creating backups, especially in this world when you don't even know if the person is going to join you after the 90th day. And then some of the cool features which most of our organizations, in fact we also do it, is getting into metaverse. So I'm today able to tell a person or attract a Gen Z, and especially if you're on the topic, show them what our value, what our culture, what our office looks like, even if you're sitting, say 1,000 miles away from where you're going to operate after maybe 2 months or 3 months. So leveraging those tools, Talent Neuron is another tool which we leverage a lot. Then for our internal moments, and like Reeti just mentioned, we have created a portal where all you have to do is put your CV up. The keyword will search the next best opportunity for you. And it will also show the hiring managers your resume as a stack up, saying that this guy suits this role better. And they go through your CV first before they go out external as well. So that way you're able to provide ample opportunities to your own internal employees. And then they obviously get in more people for you. The referral happens. This is the whole cycle, and there are several cycles like this. Every step becomes important. But the point is, have you really mapped it? Is AI really working for recruitment? I've been hearing about AI since like 8 or 10 years now. I've in fact piloted some of them. Didn't work so far. And I know you're very bullish about it. They didn't work so far. And some of the countries, and especially when you work in an organization which is global like us, some of the countries would not even allow you to deploy an AI tool which will stack rank people, because that's absolutely biased. So there are a lot of things which can be done, and data obviously is the king. we all believe in data than God now these days. But I think these are some of the things which we have to think about and start doing it. You start small, but then you'll start realizing the impact of what you have done today, probably after a year or two. And hopefully you'll be in the organization because you have done so many things, and you're not going to leave the organization, see how it actually works in favor of your organization.
Just a follow-up question on that, Priyank, because we have a lot of Gen Z people who are sitting in this room, and I'm sure that they have a lot of social footprint also. They may be having an Instagram account, a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a LinkedIn account. So how does talent intelligence bring together all the information and ensures that all the sources are speaking the same language, I must say. So how do you ensure that?
Okay, I probably didn't get the question right, but I'm trying to understand what you're asking me.
So the different platforms that are there on the social media, and a person has their accounts on all these platforms, how do you bring together all that information to see that they are seamless and they are straight?
Okay, now if you look at LinkedIn is fine. That's more of a professional account. If you look at an Instagram or a Facebook, I mean, honestly, organization like us don't even want to look at it because that's your private space.
Correct.
And I don't want to intrude in your private space. I got nothing to do with if you're partying at 3 a.m. in the night. Doesn't matter to me, honestly. So it's more about LinkedIn. If you look at LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn has emerged as a tool which they really wanted to look like probably 5 years back. And of course, COVID has really accelerated a lot of stuff which has happened throughout in last 2 years. A lot of digital footprints, everything because of COVID, because we were sitting right in our home. In fact, Metaverse also has gone through the same cycle. So LinkedIn, we run background checks. So that's very easy to actually find out if the person claims to be who they are.
Yeah.
But honestly, Twitter, personal views, and more, the US Embassy looks at your social footprints to either give you a visa or not give you a visa, but we don't honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an
Unless you have a
interesting
view
one.
on it.
I think just before the session, I and Riti were having a discussion on LinkedIn data. A lot of people I speak to have raised a lot of concerns about LinkedIn data as well, especially in terms of duplicate profiles, fake profiles, and all those. So at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is probably to understand what the general sentiment of the talent pool is. So when you're looking for a particular role, what are their interests at a macro level rather than going micro into individual people's preferences. So understanding the macro level trends is what I think is important. Micro level, as you mentioned, that it doesn't really matter whether you party at 3 a.m. or not. And that's where I think a lot of data is already available.
Definitely. Moving on to the next segment, a lot of mergers and acquisitions are happening on a global level. And just wanted to understand from the panel over here that what role does talent intelligence plays when mergers and acquisitions are happening so that the transition is a smooth one?
I think talent intelligence basically means looking at your competitors' data and analyzing what's working for them and using those insights to take decisions in-house. That's what the term refers to. Now, when it comes to mergers and acquisitions, it can be very helpful to look at your internal data, what skills you have, what kind of employees you have, what's your demographic of employees, and what you are acquiring. What skills, demographics are you acquiring? And then what are the future skills that you need? What kind of people would you want to move ahead with? So talent intelligence can definitely help in situations like this. It can help you decide whether you want to build further talent or buy talent. So that conversation between build and buy can happen when the merger and acquisition is taking place. It's a very good platform to help you decide the location strategy also. Where you want to base your talent in future, where is the talent available, where is the skill available. So all of those things can be done through some of these insights.
Yeah, thanks, Riti. I think we define talent intelligence a little different, not just looking at competitor data, but in general looking at all the external signals to drive business decisions. So the internal customer for talent intelligence usually is not the HR team. It's either the strategy or the business unit or something which is to do with the entire direction of the company, not just the HR function. HR function, it does help in terms of TA and L&D, etc. But in this question especially, in terms of M&A, there lot of M&A is targeted towards on an acquire strategy. So you are acquiring companies to get talent from those companies. So in that case, we generally find that a lot of acquisition may not really be needed as well. Your internal workforce could have been trained better or trained differently to handle that gap in your organization. So understanding critically where the gaps are, whether it's something worth solving for, how to solve for it. So acquisition is usually a finance-driven thing. They might have those signals internally, and they go and find which companies to hire from or acquire from. So that is changing as well. And HR has a lot of role to play there. That's where we see a lot of changes happening.
I mean, that's my favorite topic because, MasterCard acquires an organization every 3 months.
Oh, great.
So now the bigger challenge for us when we acquire an organization, obviously, like he rightly mentioned, it's more of a financial driven decision, or it's a technology driven decision. Like if MasterCard is not into, say, X technology, they see an organization which is really doing well in that particular sector, and we would want to obviously acquire them. The biggest challenge arises after you acquire them because they work on different HR systems most of the times. Probably they don't even have an HR system. They work on different policies, processes. How do you include them in your organization? Because ultimately you need to drive the culture of the parent organization mostly. If you see some of the acquisitions which has happened in the past, and not just calling MasterCard as an example, even if you look at an Vodafone Idea, most of the guys actually lost their jobs because there were two people doing the same job. So that's when an HR actually comes into play. The play is when you're looking at the people who are going to join your organization. Do you really need two of them or do you need one of them? If you need one of them, then what's the second person going to do? So there's a lot of work which goes into it. And I'm sure I can explain to you in the next 10 minutes or an hour also. Because there are so many things you need to do to make sure the new colleagues feel welcome. They're more integrated with your HR systems, with your systems, ways of working. And talent intelligence actually helps you to get to these points where you understand X person has been in the organization as a founder for like 5 years. Can you really hire him as a manager in your new organization? Or can you relabel them as a manager or a director? You need to find those roles. That's when HR comes into picture. And there is so much to be done when you acquire any organization.
Definitely. Talking about acquisition and layoff, I was suddenly reminded about Twitter and the ruckus that Elon Musk has created. But moving forward, I mean, a lot of you who are the HR leaders in your respective organization, I understand that digital transformation must be one of the main responsibility areas from you. So would like to understand from the panel that in order to leverage talent intelligence in the future, what kind of information that HR leaders should look at?
Do you want to just repeat the question?
So I was saying that we have a lot of HR leaders who are there in the room who have been given this responsibility of digital transformation in their organization, and they have a lot of data to look into, be it from Google or be it from LinkedIn or be it from different social media platforms. But if they have to build a robust talent intelligence strategy for their organization, what sort of system they should build and what sort of planning they should have?
Okay, I think a question better taken for Vivek, but I can just from experience share that the most important or the most critical one that I would say is your readiness to adopt to any technology.
Brilliant, yeah.
Or any technology
Brilliant,
change.
yeah.
So most of these tools or systems you could put in place, but if there is no readiness to do something different or to even get hold of the data or to even get hold of the insights, then it gets slightly difficult. So I think that's the first step. And the second step is getting ready for the ecosystem and finding what's the right tool for you, finding what's the right tool that works for you.
Yes.
And then there are so many tools which are available in the market. Job Speaker is one, but we spoke about so many tools. All you have to do is see what works for your digital transformation and
Move ahead.
deploy that.
Yeah. Vivek, one from you.
Thanks, Rithi. So if I understand the question correctly, we are talking about how to get started with
Yes.
talent intelligence. Okay, so all the change management, having buy-in from senior management, etc. I'm guessing that is a given. You need that for any change. But if you're looking at adopting TI, there are probably three things there. One is the sourcing of data. Where are you getting your data from? What kind of data? And there will be tons of different types of data, different formats, different structures. Your internal data could be in different systems, different forms, sheets. Bringing that all together, that is probably the first challenge. So understanding and sourcing the right kind of data. Second is contextualizing the data. So one job role or different companies would look at the exact same data point differently based on which industry you are in, which stage of growth you are in, what kind of people you are hiring, etc. Just to give you an example, software engineer or SD1, it could mean very different things in an Amazon versus Infosys versus a startup versus a MasterCard. So contextualizing it, kind of normalizing every data point you get to mean what it means to you, to infer what it means to your organization and your line of business. So that's the second part of it. And third part is the reporting and how you use the data itself. And that's another area where I think in general HRs do a subpar job in marketing themselves. And that's part of the problem in terms of getting the seat on the table. So preparing those reports correctly, delivering that information to the right people at the right time in the right tone. So that again is an area where a lot of value is logged in. And those are the three steps, three essentials I would say to get started on the TI area.
Priyank, from you.
Yeah, sure. I think some of my colleagues are already doing it while we speak about it. And I think I touched upon this topic earlier. So in order for, I mean, the HR's role is pretty simple, and we also have a seat on the table these days. In some organizations we don't, I agree with you. So it's very simple. You need to first understand what's driving the culture in your organization. I mean, we are the custodians. We are the guardians of a lot of policies which we put in place, and are we willing to overwrite it for a senior leader calling you up from, say, Purchase, New York, and says, this is what I want? I mean, if you're an HR guy, you would obviously say, no, this does not work that way. But obviously, our role is very, very, and which you correctly said, actually, understated, because we have to deal with so many things, external, internal, all of them. And then we have to represent ourselves in events like this as well, so that you guys understand what MasterCard is doing. So data is everywhere, right from recruitment till exit. The point is, how are you going to create a cadence around it, look at your data? Are you able to today predict who's your employee is going to leave in the next 6 months and the reasons why the person will leave? Are you able to create a profiling of such people? Because obviously, when you look at large data sets, you'll obviously come to some conclusion that, as an example, that anyone between 26 to 28 years, educated, just a graduate, living at, say, Pune, will leave after 8 months in the organization. Can you look at those data sets? If you're running at a 14%, and Touchwood MasterCard still runs at a very low attrition percentage, but you know of the organizations which run at 60, 50, 80% of the turnover. Every year there is a new shop floor. Look at the kind of data sets you have. But the question is, are you willing to invest that time? Are you willing to really templatize those things? Are you willing to get into a cadence with the senior management, telling that these are the things which we need to correct if we have to change the picture after 2 years? And it will take time. It will take at least 2 cycles for you to change. It can be your rewards strategy comes out of looking at those data. Your talent and development, learning opportunities come out looking at those data. Your attrition, your value offering to an employee actually comes out from this data. It's all available. The point is, A, are you going to put your head to it? Are you going to take that extra load? If it's not part of your job role of your day job, then you would be able to be absolutely successful if you're able to map all of this. And it's very easy to map, especially with now the HR systems are so almost one now. I remember when we started We had some other tool for recruitment. We had some other tool for your people services, some other tool for promotion, some other tool for rewards. It still exists. I mean, a lot of organizations still work this way, but it's more unified now. So she gave an example of Workday. Look at a Workday. It offers you all the suite, right from recruitment till exit. So look at the data which you can extract out of these because it's available now.
Great. Yes.
Since we are on that topic, very interesting trend that we see recently is almost all companies that have a TI function, a dedicated TI function, it's usually a centralized role, which a bunch of people looking at the entire global footprint of a organization. And in a lot of cases, it's based out of India, probably because of the multi-dimension of our talent pool. Almost all our HRs have some other background as well. So it's not a unidimensional talent pool that we have. And that's a very interesting trend that we are seeing in most of the organizations that has a dedicated TI function.
Thank you. So we are in the last leg of the discussion, and maybe we can have 2 quick questions from the audience, please.
So we talk about data in the perspective of mostly talent acquisition people. Now when we talk about L&D, usually we are more focused on hypods which are there. We do a skills matrix and we see what is the next role for them. But when you're doing all these things in a bigger organization, if I say, what else can be acquired from L&D perspective? Because talent, employee life cycle, you can get a lot of insight. But when it comes to L&D, except seeing the growth path or what are hypods, what all things can you derive from the data?
Okay, now that's my favorite topic, by the way. So that's my favorite topic when I meet an L&D professional. I say, what's the outcome? How do I know that you conducted X number of trainings? What's the outcome? And that's still a $1 billion question if I can answer it. But the point is, some of the things which L&D can actually help some of the leaders achieve is, you know that, and there are assessment tools available today, and L&D uses them as well. Forget the hypods. Hypods are obviously there because they're hypods, so you honestly don't have to invest so much in them. But you have to look at people who are absolutely dedicated, who know the skills, probably lacking a managerial skill, just as an example, or probably lacking a global exposure, or probably lacking project management skills. That's when you actually get to know that these are the trainings which we can offer to them. And I can see someone raising a hand saying time's up. And he has just put it down. So
Last question, please, from the audience. Yes.
Firstly, thanks. I think it's a very interactive session. Priyank, this question might be for you, though. So I think one thing most of us struggle with is enabling first-time people managers, you know, with the right kind of information, with the right kind of data. So maybe some insights from you, Priyank, or anyone on the floor there is, you know, how could we look at enabling first-time people managers and some of the insights that you guys do at your organization in terms of data that would be helpful for them, not just to bring in talent, but to retain top talent. So some insights from you guys. Thank you.
I think the L&D plays a very important role in making sure that the first-time managers know what's an expectation from them. But additionally, some of these tools that we spoke about gives a lot of insights. As an example, if you have a team of, let's say, 20 people and you've got an internal movement process or policy, and you know that there are a few people who are applying for internal jobs, that data helps. In what time are they looking for different jobs? What kind of jobs are they looking at? What's the trigger for them? Are they looking or applying for a job immediately after you've had a discussion as a manager, or it's a different reason? So just collating and collecting that data is again a very critical insight. And then generally the how the team was earlier, what's the sentiment of the team, what's the engagement survey saying for the team is again another piece of data, very important piece of data that you could collect. In my organization at NatWest, as an example, we run an employee survey, and managers get insights to those surveys, and there are very deeper questions around manager, how they are doing, around leadership, around purpose, around strategy, financial well-being, all of that. So these insights help first-time managers a lot in understanding their teams more deeply and deploying some strategies to engage them better.
One second, I'll just add that. So I come from that other side of things, looking at external data side. One thing you can probably tap into is look at look externally and see what kind of skills, what kind of certifications are relevant for similar role in your competitor organization or other organizations in your geography. So that would give you a lot of insights on what others are doing. So you could probably tailor around. So that's an information that was not available earlier. So
I think we have a concluding point from Priyank now.
Very interesting. Let me come to the point, okay? So your training of new hiring managers is very important. They need to understand the tools available to them, because all of a sudden they realize they can see someone's salary, they can see someone's CTC, they can do performance development, they can do performance appraisals, they can do manpower planning and things like that. And honestly, the first-time managers, and when I became a first-time manager probably 12 years back, I struggled. So, absolutely. So in association with the L&D, you've got to really create those plans. You need to take them through the tools. You need to tell them what are, and if I just have to take an example because this is the season now, what a rating 4 and rating 5 looks like. What's the differentiator? Why would you rate someone 5 or why would you rate someone 4, which is lower, or 3 or 2 or 1? So, these modules have to be developed for the hiring managers, especially, the new managers, especially if they just stepped into those shoes, because you're going to help them become successful, or else you will lose them to someone else. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Riti, Vivek, and thank you so much, Priyank, for sharing your insights. As a gesture of our appreciation, please accept a small token from SHRM. A big round of applause for the panel, please.
This is how we know we have to go now.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned. We have the next panel discussion which is coming up in the next 60 seconds.